Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mikestand, where we try to get conversations about niche topics like comics, anime, cartoons, manga. We cover the news, the niche newscast here. Um, and we're going to be waiting a few minutes to give people a chance to. We have a second person in. Hello. If you can like and share the stream and see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Um, Hopefully, you're doing well today. Um, yeah, so um, going to be waiting to just give people a chance to come in a bit before we get started. We do have some interesting stories going on tonight. So, and they left it. Anyways. We wait for more people to show up. Trying to see. I'm still the only one here. Still waiting. Well, waiting on the world to change. Yeah, we're waiting on the world to change. Oh, waiting on the world to change. All right, let's see. Yeah, usually hump day things are slowed down, but we actually have some major news tonight. So, as I said, we're just waiting a few more minutes to give people a chance to get in. I'll. Let's see. Let's see. Now we're back up to 2 people watching. Yeah, so as I said, and if you have anything you'd like to add to the conversation or um, talk about in regards to the topics we'll be going, the news articles we'll go over, feel free to chime in. And if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Um, we got 3 people here now, so I think I might be able to get started here right away. Now that we got, now we're back down to 2 people. Hmm. Yeah. So, anyways, um, yeah. So we're coming up on 5 minutes. Now I'm back down to. Oh, they. All right. So we're just waiting. I can tell somebody's lurking in there. That's okay. Um. Ah. Yeah. So, anyways, Just as I said, just waiting on. Man. 542, 543. All right. Hey, toys. Mike, don't sweat the counter. It's never right. P.S. Going back to lurking. All right. Yeah. All right. So we're just past the 6-minute mark now. Let's see. Yeah. So, anyways, just waiting a little longer here. Let's see. I think I might. Let's see. 7-minute mark. All right. So here's what's on tap for tonight. We got 5 stories we're gonna go over. Let's see. 3 of them comics related and 2 anime related. The anime related ones are actually kind of related to each other. Um, let's see. Um, basically, let's see. Um, what's on tap for all the stories, of course, are from Bounding into Comics. Among those include Brandon Fiadino, creator of Chicago Typewriter, the one of the features on the Arcaven.com site. He's got some commentary on current state of mainstream comics. Underworld creator Kevin uh, Graveau, calls out DC Comics for their tokenization. Um, we have some Arcaven comics highlights. That's in the comic side of it, and then of course in the anime side of it, there's some stuff stirring in the Vic situation. Not necessarily in the court case. We still haven't heard anything about the verdict yet. We're still wait, or not the verdict, but the appeal. We're still waiting on that. But after a while now, apparently Monica Rial and Jamie Markey have decided to do a podcast to quote unquote set the record straight on the whole Vic Mignogna situation. And then Chris Rager comes out and has a bit to say about Vera Dark's criticism. Hey Jason, hey Jason, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more people in here. That'd be let's see. Rip gas poison. All right. Um. Anyways. Um. All right. So without any further ado, then we're getting close to the 10-minute mark here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the articles here. And if you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. All right, so we're gonna hit off the first story of the night here that we're gonna cover. Chicago Typewriter creator. Now, Chicago Typewriter is a feature, as I said, that on Arcaven's site. In quotes here, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, etc. are all producing watered down trash nowadays. Article by John F. Trent published earlier today. So let's see what I has to say here. Chicago Typewriter creator Brandon Fiadino lampooned Star Wars, Marvel, and DC and more, claiming they, quote, are all producing watered down trash nowadays, unquote. Lies! You give them lies! From Chicago. This is of course a panel from Chicago Typewriter right here. Fiadino made the comment on Twitter. He stated, quote, I want no part of entertainment companies putting out nostalgia bait products. I want new properties to be created, support people who are making them, and to make new creations myself. All right. A subsequent tweet, he added, quote, more oftentimes than not, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, etc., are all producing absolute watered down trash nowadays. Then they're duct taping your childhood on the wing of a crashing airplane. That's kind of very interesting, to say the least. Let's see. This isn't the first time um, Fiadino has gone after nostalgia products. He previously mocked people who watch nostalgia bait products from Disney back in January. He tweeted, quote, Babe, you haven't even touched your Disney live action remakes, unquote, quote unquote. In the tweet, he included a meme of Disney telling one of their consumers, quote, Babe, it's been 2 months. Time to consume another nostalgia bait remake of your childhood, unquote. The consumer, who looks physically beaten down, responds in quote unquote, yes, corporation. Oh boy. Fiadino is not alone in his criticism of Marvel, Star Wars, and Disney for creating nostalgia products as well as those who consume them. Recently, YouTuber Eric July expressed his own opinion that people who eat up nostalgia bait are quote unquote part of the problem. July's comments came in a recent video on his YouTube channel titled, quote, More franchises resort to nostalgia bait for a quick boost. Unquote. On Twitter, he shared the video stating, quote, a lot of y'all clearly have an addiction, and Disney, Marvel, Sony, and Lucasfilm all know that you know and know you'll come running anytime they jangle keys of nostalgia bait. You prove them right when you support them. Check out the full video now live on YouTube. There's any conversation going on since I last checked in? Let's see. Does Funimation have security or overnight security guard? Um. Oh. Is voice acting no, voice acting is not a union job, Jason. They're technically considered private contractors as far as I know. As for whether or not they have security, I don't know. I would kind of wonder that, especially going to the whole, like, particularly when I go back and remember Jamie's story of her account of what she wants everybody to believe, that Vic assaulted her. So, but I don't know about that. But anyways, we'll get to more of that though later. In the video, he explores the idea, stating, quote, "We show something that was part of this franchise that will give them the member berries that they consider what used to be the good old days. And if you eat that mess up, you are part of the problem, man." Later in the video, July noted that he wants customers to stop consuming these nostalgia bait offerings for the mega corporations, but instead, quote, rewrite the focus to the creators that are good, and trying to replace them in the eyes of everybody that's out there, unquote. He added, quote, "That's the only way we are going to win," unquote. July then asserted, quote, "But how we won't be able to win, or how rather we are guaranteeing a loss, is by continuing to give these guys the benefit of the doubt, even though they have exposed their game plan to you." Cyberfrog 2 Wrecked Planet is, of course, Ethan Van Sciver's latest book, I believe. Former DC Comics artist and creator of Cyberfrog, Ethan Van Sciver, also expressed sentiment on Twitter when he posited that SJWs be shut out as he and others build something new. He tweeted, quote, "My point is this. SJWs don't debate us. In fact, they mock the idea of debating us. They just act decisively and effectively in changing the culture. They shut us out and bleep things up. Hey, guess what? It worked," unquote. He then added, quote, let's shut them out and build something new," unquote. No Volt and Justified creator John Del Eros, um, John Del Rose, also shared similar thoughts in a YouTube video reacting to Eric July's comments. He noted, quote, "They're never out for you, for your family. They're in fact trying to subvert and erode your family every single time. Sometimes they do it subtly, sometimes they do it not so subtly," he added. Della Rose later added, quote, "They put all these messages in the movies. Just because it's not a trans black lesbian doesn't mean it's not SJW. It very much is. It's very much meant to subvert America. It's very much meant to make you have yourselves and to hate yourselves and hate your own children and applaud and put these black people on pedestals. That's the entire point every single time, so don't fall for it," he argued. Unquote. Let's see. We have some. See, Jason, that Amber Lee Connors voiced a lead character in Comey Can't Communicate, which I haven't seen yet. I probably will. Um, is Brittany Karbowski and Anna Lee against Vic. I don't know about Anna Lee. I don't know a whole lot about her. Brittany, I'm not exactly sure. I think she's kind of more in the middle, but she's kind of like she had made some statements, like she was part of that whole "Be There" campaign and all that. But I'm not completely sure if that's of her own free will or if it's she's being coerced. You know, did you watch it, Sergeant? Yes, I did. Hi, hey, code double O double six gaming. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a good day. Did you watch my dress? No, I haven't seen that one yet. Some of the newer titles I haven't seen yet, and of course, if you guys can like and share the stream to so we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Let me see. All right, so let's see. Let me get back to the All right, so let's finish off this article and get ready to move on to the next one. Fiadino's college typewriter graphic novel is available on archaven.com. What do you make of Fiadino's comments on? Well, I kind of agree with him on his comments. Yeah, I think a lot of people agree with him on his comments, considering that is basically what's been happening. All right, so moving on to. So, does anybody have anything you'd like to say about that first article before I move on? Only Ocean Studios produce more anime dubs. Yeah, that would be nice. Okay, the whole thing right now with all the remote, like now that people can actually do the recordings from home. They don't actually have to go to the dub studios anymore. They could actually do it from their home with a lot of the technology now. You know, now you could have a number of different companies intermixing with each other, like if you notice with the Yashahime anime, when they dubbed it, yeah, a lot of the voice actors from the original series did reprise their roles. Of course, Kirby Morrow did for the first 4 episodes um, until 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 he passed away. But the main characters were actually done by LA voice actors. So let's see, Rumiko Koya's Mao looks similar to Inuyasha. You watch maybe at some point. Um, I might at some point. Let's see for now though. Anyways, so getting on to the next article then here. Underworld creator Kevin Grevue calls out DC Comics tokenization for not promoting more truly original black characters. I'm a dubber. I watch dubs. So. See, Underworld creator Kevin Grevue calls out DC Comics tokenization for not promoting more truly original black characters. Article by J.B. Augustine, published earlier today. DC Comics is celebrating Black History Month with special variant covers for titles going on sale in February, along with other big plans. But they're not winning everyone over with their intentions. Underworld actor, producer, and noted comic writer for both DC and Marvel Comics, Kevin Grevue, um, for one, is less than impressed DC Comics is not promoting quote unquote truly original black characters. Grevue commented on a piece of artwork by Aletha Martinez and Emilio Lopez titled, quote, A Celebration of DC's Black Superheroes, unquote, that contains some familiar faces such as Steel, John Stewart, Black Lightning, Nubia, Mr. Terrific, that's the Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific, Black Mana, Batwing, Cyborg, and more. However, there are considerable names missing, including Bronze Tiger and those of the Milestone universe. Shared his frustrations about the tokenization in a Facebook post. So this is what I'm talking about with when I rail against the lack of truly original black characters, unquote, he wrote. Quote, here you have an image of 22 black superheroes. Only 7 of them are original, if that. Review continued. Quote, and most of them were created in the last 12 years. What happened to Bronze Tiger, Tyrock, Crimson Avenger, Bloodwood? Well, I didn't know that Crimson Avenger had a. I know originally he was a white guy named Lee Travis. I didn't know there was a one. Bloodwind. See, in closing, he wondered where the quote unquote milestone characters, were, and said, quote, I don't get it. Of course, Static and Hardware come from Milestone Comics. That was Dwayne McDuffie's pride and joy, as it were. Excuse me. Review is right about Bronze Tiger, Tyrock, Crimson Avenger, and Bloodwind. So I guess there must have been a second Crimson Avenger who was black. I not got that far up. So, as they aren't even mentioned in DC's online press release for Black History Month celebrations. Milestone, on the other hand, is a focal point of what they're doing this month. Along with the Black Superhero graphic, here there is a piece dubbed A Celebration of Milestone Superheroes by Doug Brathwaite, showing Static, Icon, and Rocket, Hardware, and Fade of the Blood Syndicate. Okay, there's something interesting there. Look, they got Richie's face. So what? They put Richie Foley now as Static instead of Virgil Hawkins? They are also pushing the Milestone Initiative, a program announced last year to scout and develop up and coming comic book talents of color by sending them to the Kubert School, and then pairing them with a creative partner to make new and original Milestone stories. As mentioned, DC is making the occasion of Black History Month with variant covers by Alexis Franklin issues of Green Lantern, Nubia, and the Amazons, Flash, Action Comics, I Am Batman, and Aquaman. Blood Syndicate #1, cover by Dennis Cowan, Jimmy Palmiotti. Do you feel the way? Graveau does? Sound off down. Yeah, well, I think he's got a legitimate point there. I think part of the problem is that the reason they are trying to tokenize so much is because they're they're trying to utilize the more like well-known characters to trying to use the more well-known characters to sit there and push agendas. Let me see now. Let's see what's been going on here. What is your favorite Inuyasha character? Two, if you want. I'd say Inuyasha is probably one for me, but opinion on anti-mask truckers in Canada. Sorry about the asking wisdom. Well, I'm all for, standing up for your rights. I'm all for liberty. So that's what I'll say about that. Do you think Russia will invade? I don't. Okay, why are you bringing? Okay, Jason, why are you bringing up these political questions? Granted, I do get that. Particularly in Nietzsche, there are ideological bents. You do see those in the stories, but we don't try to get too deep into politics here. We don't talk because we're trying to get away from all the stress of stuff. Who is your favorite Sentai voice? Well, I have quite a few of them. I like a few. Shelley Kayleen Black is one. Kelly Madison, Hilary Haig, Kira Vincent Davis. Among the actresses, Maggie Flecknoe. Among the actors, um, Blake Shepard seems pretty cool. Mike Yeager seems pretty cool as well. So, you heard? Yeah, I've heard of it. I don't know if I've watched it yet or not. Won't be visiting. Hey, May. That's okay. We don't try to get too deep into it because it just we're trying to keep this a positive place. Granted, most people here are of the same opinions, anyways, but we just try to stay away from it just because So, but anyways, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, that would be appreciated. So we get some more friendly people in here. With that, let's get ready to move on to the next article. This will be the last comic article we'll go through, and then get into some anime stuff. And the anime articles will probably take a little more time with because There's some, I guess, some interesting development. That still the case is still in appeals, but apparently some stuff is starting to rumble up with Vic again. So we'll be looking at that. That goat, all right. Haven't seen him in a while. Well, yeah. He back in December he came out to California to visit his mom for the holidays, and then he got back in the middle of January, and he just hasn't got back, settled back in completely yet. He was here last Friday, May for the historical well, actually not this past Friday, the Friday before. He's just and hopefully he'll be here this Friday, but he's just still settling in. He'd been on he had taken like a month off basically, so he's just settling back in still. So, anyways, getting back to getting to the next article here. Archive and Comics highlight the concept of blood money in Midnight's War. Article by the Dark Herald, published earlier today. What if you lived in a world where you had no right to your own blood? I hear what you are saying, and no, you don't live in that world. You really don't, um, even if it often feels that way. But if this were the world of Vox Day's Midnight's War, wherein the vampires have left the shadows to rule openly, the hypothetical is not so much a question as it is literal fact of life. Your body would not only be a farm that grows blood for whatever vampire has claimed you. In that world, your rights, same as those held by, are the same as those held by a Roman slave. Quote, nothing to that which is dead like a beast. Unquote. Midnight's War in the year 8466 of the Canteen calendar, uh, yeah, the the Canine calendar, in the aftermath of a catastrophic global economic crisis, the vampire tribes came out of the shadows for the first time in more than 2,500 years and revealed themselves to unsuspecting humanity. With near complete control of the media, the national governments, the global financial system, and most of the major international institutions, humanity was helpless to resist the vampiric bid for power. This is a world where the most common medical condition on Earth is anemia, as everyone is a pint low on any given day. Here, the vamps ruled the world in secret for a long time, appearing openly only after having decided their cattle could no longer be trusted to run their own day-to-day affairs. After all, if the humans wipe themselves out, what would vampires feed upon? Isn't that nice? They save up from our own humanity just so we can be their breeding stock. Actually, no, not breeding stock, food supply. However, the vampires are used to running things the way they did in the 1300s. After all, an interest in democracy would have been a ridiculous affectation for beings who viewed themselves not as equals to humanity, but they're clear and obvious superiors. Consequently, politics have reverted to straightforward feudalism, with vampire lords warring over territory not with humans, but with other vampires. Um, but when you govern a world, you need a world economy. A fact which, despite their best efforts, even the Soviet Union never figured out a way around. While the vampires are a little backward when it comes to socio-political structures, they aren't so primitive as to use a barter economy. With an understanding of economics, Vox knows what he's doing when it comes to applying the Greek poet Hesiod's concept of allocating resources to overcome scarcity to his work. Needing a universal medium of exchange, the vampires have turned to trading the one thing both their species and humans value the most: blood, and a steady supply of that. Okay. Scratch on 141. Oh, well, unless those were added to, then I did have, I was up to 142, but then dropped back down to 139. So unless I got, you're getting there, I'm aiming to get 200, but still at 104. And we'll get there. What? Yeah, I've watched it on Toonami. It's a pretty good show. What is the weirdest anime you've watched? Well, I don't know if there's any that I would call weird, but there are a lot that would be considered surreal. I would say Gregory Horror Show is probably probably the one that I would consider be one of the more surreal ones. There's a few others out there. Um, let's see. Okay. So, anyways, let's see. Blood as a medium of exchange is an intriguing concept. In the real world, we are used to gold acting as that medium, though food's use as currency certainly has some precedent in the real world. For example, in feudal Japan, samurai were paid stipends by those they served under, which often consisted of, in part, of two kokus, or 280 liters of rice. However, the precious metal has always had one fundamental limiter to its intrinsic value. If you are trapped on an island with decent water but no food, what would you value more? A gold brick or a fishing rod? Mainly, precious metals do have more staying power than food, as gold will never rot. But what good does a brick of gold do for a man who needs to survive amidst these harsh conditions? Another advantage of blood being used as currency is that, given the advances in modern DNA identification technology, you'll never have trouble determining precisely where, or rather who, it came from. Further, since the production appears to be stabilized in that world and blood is fungible, the value remains constant rather than given to fluctuation. In essence, it's the ultimate liquid currency. Sorry, I won't do that again. I promise. No circulation jokes either. Okay. Okay. Anyways, of course, like any economy, Midnight's War, its blood money based system, has its own share of operational problems, including market competition, corporate espionage, and product poaching. But the much more worrying concern for vampires is that humans might eventually find hope and rise up to reclaim their world. After all, if they do, it's possible that the vampires will once again find themselves forced to an existence in the shadows, if they're even allowed to exist at all. Midnight War by Vox Day is now available to read on Arctoons. What do you make of the concept of blood money in Arc? Yeah, it does sound interesting a little bit. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of people went away for some reason. I know maybe and Jason, you may want to chime in here in a sec because we're gonna actually get into the anime stories now, and these are gonna be some major stories here we're gonna be talking about here. Couple of them here because they're both kind of involving the Vic situation. So we'll move on here. We're at 48 minutes. So yeah, because apparently some stuff kind of happened. I guess starts here. Dragon Ball voice actors Monica Rial and Jamie Markey launched podcast to quote unquote set the record straight about Vic Mignogna case. February 9th, Cooley. Monica Rial and Jamie Markey have launched a new podcast aimed at, quote, setting the record straight about their roles and accusing once fellow Dragon Ball voice actor Vic Mignogna of sexual misconduct and involvement in the legal actions that followed thereafter. And as as far as I know, just to let everybody know, the case is still on appeal. There's been no ruling that came out yet. Um, so there's not much more we can. I mean, sure everybody remembers what's going on. We're just waiting on the appeals. It's been a while. But anyways, premiering the first episode on January 8th, which was yesterday, the In Touch podcast is described by the pair as an audio recollection of, quote, our adventures in talking publicly about being sexually harassed, getting harassed online for talking publicly about being sexually harassed, getting sued for talking publicly about being sexually harassed, having that case against them get thrown out because we're allowed to talk publicly about being sexually harassed, and the further harassment we receive having a case against us for defamation because we talked publicly about being sexually harassed get thrown out because we're allowed a lot of double talk there. Quote TLDR, we won. They lost. They can't get over it. Well, it is on appeal, though. Riel, who voices Dragon Ball's Bulma, and Marky, who voices Universe 11 Angel Marashita, ironically explained, quote, now it's our turn to tell our side of the story. Yeah, now that, well, the case is still on appeal. And the problem is that, you know, this may come back to haunt them if they start talking again. The saga of Mignana being accused of sexual misconduct and subsequently blacklisted began in 2019, basically 3 years ago, when, in the wake of then rising Me Too movement, both Markey and Rial, with the support of the latter's fiance Ron Toy, accused the popular voice actor sexual harassment and misconduct. Quote, I stand with the victims. My experience is minor in comparison to many others. However, having realized this wasn't an isolated incident, I felt compelled to share, wrote Markey on February. Now, remember, everybody don't forget, this is the same lady who went out there and basically um, told everybody how she wanted to castrate, Vic. Okay? So, Um, yeah, this could, my guess is this could be just their way of trying to get some positive attention. Because I don't really know anybody who's really setting. I mean, aside from a couple little hiccups here and there, like from Emmett Plant and the Star Trek crew, Star Trek Continues crew, we haven't really been hearing a whole lot about this stuff. Let's see. However, having realized this wasn't an isolate, I felt compelled. Okay. Um, on February 8th, 2019, claiming that Mignana had at one time, quote, grabbed my hair close to the root, effectively preventing me from moving my head. He then, yeah, and I, I call BS on that, because she also said that we all remember that, and jerked his fist, yanking my head backwards and towards him. She would go on to state that he whispered something in my ear, unquote, which she described as sexual. Well, how could she know? She didn't know exactly what he said. First off, and second off, another account of hers on this is that this happened in a lobby. This is the big problem I have with this particular story. Even if it was like close to the end of the day, you would have had you would have had probably at least a security guard. You would have had at least one or two other people there other than those two. And yet, and if that did happen in a reception area, there would have been a receptionist there. There would have been security guard there. This would not have gone 7, 8 years. 7, 8, 9 years being reported. Because if this happened in a reception area, there would have been other people there who could. And to this day, we haven't heard peep one from any, like, somebody who was a receptionist or security guard with the company come out and say, yeah, they actually saw this happen. Of course, the only problem is, now that I've made that point, of course, they could always find somebody to just lie about it, say that they did. But then a security guard, that would have been his job to do something like that. He would have had to intervene. So that's where I have issue with this particular part of the story, or this story, is that there would have been somebody else there aside from those two. There would have been at least a receptionist there, if not also a security guard. So, She would go on to state, okay, yeah, we read that part already. Yeah, basically, they're both full of it. 2 days later, Funimation would announce that in light of an investigation into Marquis and Real's then privately discussed accusations, they had decided to fire Mignogna effective immediately. And the funny thing is that it's kind of funny because they still, if he supposedly did this, and again, we go back to that one simple argument. If he actually did this, then why is he not in jail? Okay. I don't know if part of that may be due to the statute of limitations or whatever, but you would think if he actually did this and they had actual proof that he did this, they keep claiming all this BS that they're telling us is proof. It's not. Okay. You know, why is he not in jail? That should tell you about how much BS they're shoveling right there. So, and I would seem to be the only one. Let's say, okay, quote, everyone, we wanted to give you an update on the Vic Mignogna situation, quote, wrote the Western anime distribution. Okay, so this is going back to like 3 years ago when this all happened. Quote, following an investigation, Funimation recast Vic Mignogna and Moros Monarchine Season 2. Funimation will not be engaging in Mignogna in future production, unquote. A later report by IO9, referring to information provided to them by an inside source, would reveal that a previous investigation into Mignogna had been ultimately deemed inconclusive by Funimation themselves. On February 20th, which was again coming up on 3 years now, Real would like, well, maybe this is why they're doing this now, is because it's coming up on 3 years now. Real would likewise publish her own accusations to Twitter, stating that, quote, whenever he saw me, he would take he'd take a fistful of my hair, pull my head back. On February, stating that whenever he saw me, he would take a fistful of my hair, pull my head back, and now this is just embellishment right here. I think this is Monica trying to embellish, like trying to give further support. Hey, look, he does do this. It's like, you know, when it's more than two people who are saying it, it's a conspiracy. Um, and either whisper so closely to my ear that his lips were touching or kiss my cheek neck, unquote. She also recalled how, quote, in the mid 2000s, we were at a convention together, and he grabbed me and kissed me in the hotel room. Now, I have been around them both, back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I was around them a few times. Based on what I saw, my interactions with them, there was no indication whatsoever that any of this was going on. Okay, none. And even in the times I've seen Vic since, again, no indication that he's ever done anything inappropriate. So, quote, I didn't start this. I have nothing to gain from it. Oh, yeah, you do. I didn't steal anyone's roles or titles. The stuff you're hearing on YouTube is all lies attempting to create. Oh, really? Really? You dating somebody who actually was arrested for having sex with a minor? Really? That's a lie? uh, anyways, to create drama and get subs views, I am perfectly content being just a voice. Right. That's why, as Dorothy Garrett, you've done line producing work. You've directed a few shows too. You're content. Yeah, yeah. Keep telling yourself that. Lovely, love it. Responding to those unhappy with Mignana's abrupt firing, Rial elaborated, quote, the investigations were incredibly thorough. Each person was interviewed and evidence weighed and a decision made. Each company has to look out for the safety of their employees. In this instance, these companies felt they made the best decision to protect their employees and contract workers. Mignana denied the allegations, posting on Twitter in January 2019, quote, any allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, or most disturbingly, pedophilia are completely and utterly false. My heart weeps for anyone who endures a violation of this kind. So to be accused of harming others in this way, I have no words, unquote. Eventually, these accusations and series of events would lead Mignana to file a lawsuit against Funimation, Marquis Real Toye for a total of $1 million, alleging defamation, tortious interference with existing contracts, tortious interference with prospective business relations, civil conspiracy, and vicarious liability. However, after a prolonged legal battle, the Tarrant County, Texas court in which he filed his lawsuit ruled to dismiss Mignana's claims against the defendants, finding that the latter had, quote, shown a preponderance of the evidence that the communications related to plaintiffs' causes of actions relate to public concern. This is the anti-slap stuff, is what they're talking about. And the communications involve allegations of conduct by plaintiff that relate to health and safety, environmental, economic, and community well-being. The court's ruling also stated that Mignana, quote, has failed to establish by clear and specific evidence a prima facie case of each. No, he hasn't. There are plenty of clear and clear examples of that, and everybody saw that because anybody who saw, Nick Rekida's coverage of that, we saw all that. The judge just was ignorant on what he was saying. Of his claims of defamation, tortious interference of existing contracts, tortious interference, prospective business relations, civil conspiracy, and vicarious. Mignana filed an appeal in October 2019. The case is still in the appeals process. So, over 2 years now. Okay, October 2019. It's already been 2+ years. So, October 2021, and then like 2 years and 4 months, basically. Let's see, 2 times 12, 24, 20. We're in the 28th month here of the appeal. Shortly after word of her podcast premiere began to circulate across social media, Rial tweeted, quote, when the angry YouTubers start covering our podcast, and you know they will, please remember that they're making money off of you. I'm not making any money. I'm not monetized. So up yours. Quote, in touch is free and unsponsored, she said. Quote, giving us, giving us a click, giving us money. We don't, giving us dollars. We don't want money. We want to share our experiences. In Touch's first episode, We Don't Even Know Beyonce, wherein the two, quote, go over our least favorite misconceptions, unquote, about the aforementioned events. It's currently available on the podcast official website. Future episodes are set to release on a monthly basis. They feel that they can talk now because the case, even though it's in appeals, is technically over. They're not under a gag order. It's not like, but the danger that they put themselves in is they give Ty more evidence moving forward. They risk giving him more evidence, to impeach what they're saying. What do you make a real? Yeah, it's a very it's I think an attempt to take back control of the narrative, trying to start the arguments again and trying to. I think it's a way they're trying to bait people into outrage. And it's going to be a very damning thing for them. That's my take on it. So, anyways, now that we're done with that, let's see now. Let's see. Have you? Let's see. So, Vic is better off without Funimation. Ocean Studios should. Well, okay. Jason, he's actually even addressed that before. Ocean really can't hire him, or they could, but it would be very problematic for them to hire him, and not because of the whole defamation case. That's not the reason. Up in Canada, I guess they have a law up there, or not necessarily a law, but they have something up there where the more you hire your the more you hire in country, um the more of a tax break you get. See, they would lose some of the tax break they get for hiring Canadians, um I would personally like to see Vic go back to Sentai, albeit Sentai, we may be having problems with Sentai now because I guess now it would appear Funimation may be starting to have more influence at Sentai now, which would be. Hey Lorenzo, hey Rick, I see you guys. I just yeah, we did the comic stories already. We're going through some anime stories here. Um Primarily mostly about Vic, because there's I guess the I guess now that we're coming on the 3-year anniversary of when Vic first filed his lawsuit. Now you got people coming out of the woodwork starting to talk about it again. Monica Rial and Jamie Markey just started a podcast. They feel free; they can go on, talk, and say anything they want about him now because the case. Well, it's not really over. It's I guess the main part of it is because it is in appeals. So I'm sure Vic probably hates Monica after. Um, no, I don't think. I've met Vic. He doesn't hate her. Okay. he probably feels sorry for her. He regrets that this whole thing happened, but he doesn't. Vic is not really the type to hate people. He's a Christian. Okay, he is very devoted to his faith in Jesus Christ. You know, he is often. I mean, you know, people have talked about with him where it's kind of funny because people talk about how people are going after Monica and Jamie for talking about all this and stuff like that, but Vic has been consistent on saying, hey, don't go after him, don't go after him, leave him alone. You know, be kind. Those are Vic's words. Be kind. You know, he's a much stronger Christian than a lot of us. I'll give you that much. Who else? Who else is a Kick Vic actor? Well, okay, so the main little cadre of the Kick Vic VAs are, of course, all of them are basically with Funimation. There, a lot of them are at the core of Funimation. So it's Monica, Jamie Markey, Chris Sabat, Sean Schemmel, um, and then further out by extension, like I think Sunny Straits kind of has a looser affiliation with them. You know, some of the other people who talk trash about Vic or who have either come out and claimed, made accusations against him either over sexual harassment or being phobic or whatever include J. Michael Tatum, um, Greg Ayers, um, you know, let's see. Let's see. And then some of them, others who would be considered kick big include Mandowin Lee and DC Douglas. But the majority of them, Kara Edwards came out and accused Vic of some stuff. For the most part, it's the primary kick Vic VAs, primary cadre of individuals are Monica Rial, Jamie Markey, Christopher Sabat, Sean Schemmel, DC Douglas, and Amanda Winley. Those are that main little cadre of individuals. What about Sean Shiplock or Kellen Goff? I have heard Sean Shiplock may have said some things against Vic. Kellen, I'm not completely sure about. How about some actors that support Vic? I'd rather not say. I do kind of know some of them who've been more neutral and or have actually the only ones that I will actually say that are probably that I will say because they themselves have pretty much been public about it already are Chuck Huber and Todd Habercorn. Okay. And I think Johnny Young Bosch as well. Those three have genuinely I don't want to say anybody else because what is liable to happen if too much of the word gets out for some of these people, they might start getting harassed by the little cadre. They might start getting blacklisted and all that. So I'd rather not say. But aside from the ones that we know have actually come out and said stuff positive towards Vic, which include like Johnny Young Bosch, Chuck Huber, and Todd Habercorn. And I think Karami Lee is also may have been also. But for the most part, there are a lot of people out there, probably a lot more, who are neutral or support Vic than those who actually are kick Vic. It's just a small little cadre of people who are causing problems for everybody. Anyways, we got one more article to go through, an hour 15, so we're actually doing pretty good on time. This one actually is also kind of part of this situation as well. And here's Chris Rager and Okay, so Chris Rager and Josh Martin are another pair who have really are part of that cadre as well. So it's Monica Rial, Jamie Markey, Chris Sabat, Sean Schemmel, Chris Rager, and Josh Martin. Those individuals, I would say, are the primary cadre who are really out to get Vic. Dragon Ball voice actor Chris Rager insults YouTuber Vera Dark over her criticism of Monica Rial and Jamie Markey's podcast. Here we go. So, Western anime dub voice actor Chris Rager, best known for his longtime role as Mr. Satan across Funimation's various Dragon Ball projects, recently met YouTuber Vera Dark's criticisms of Monica Rial and Jamie Markey's new podcast with a childish and insult-filled tantrum. And this is not the first time this guy's done that either. He's had a number of these in regards to the whole Vic situation. Self-described as their attempt at, quote, setting the record straight, Rial and Markey. No, see, this was Spencer Bakuli who wrote this. I think J.B. Augustine wrote the other article we just read. So, setting the record straight, Rial and Markey's In Touch podcast will see the two recount the story of Vic Mignogna's firing over accusations of sexual misconduct from their perspective as his principal accusers. Now, mind you, again, as I said, we're 28 months into the appeal here, over 2 years into the appeal. Okay, maybe they feel that the appeal ruling is coming quick, and they think that Vic is going to win his appeal. Okay, if they're scared that he's going to win his appeal, if their lawyers have told him that he's going to win the appeal, then it's likely this is their attempt. This little podcast is their attempt to retake the narrative. Okay, it's their opportunity to retake the narrative, to try to put Vic on the defensive, put him back on his heels. You know, he's endured a lot over the last couple of years here, last 3 years here. Everybody knows this, okay? And he's still been fairly successful. He's still getting invited to conventions. Granted, he's not working in the VA community right now, which kind of sucks. I mean, granted, he's done some independent projects. That much I do know. But he's still making, and he's still very popular at conventions despite all this garbage. And this little cadre, these kick Vickers, hate that. They wanted to bury this man, and they can't do it because he's got such a swath of support. He's got a lot of people out there who believe in him, who know that all this that they're doing is a bunch of BS. Okay, so they know as I said, if my gut feeling is the reason Monica and Jamie decided to do this In Touch podcast is because they've basically been told that they may have been told by their attorneys that the ruling is coming back soon, the appeals ruling, and it's not going to go well for them. It may be some indication that Vic may very well win the appeal. Now, I'm just speculating as a layman. As I don't. Nick would probably ask me not to say this but based on what they're doing here, this is almost a preemptive strike. Okay, just based on my observations of the situation here, not any kind of legal background knowledge, which I have none. Um, in fact, for all we know, Nick may even tonight have he may end up having you know all right. So apparently, there's a few questions here that have come up here. Or some. Let me address these, and then I'll continue on with the article here. Let's see. Yeah, I've already talked about that. I've already talked. DC Douglas a well, I think he tries to be, but then he's got knocked down for it too. And DC Douglas has problems of his own because, of course, there is that video out there of him actually going into a woman's restroom and making light of the fact that he could go into a women's restroom. Let's see. Should 4Kids hire? Well, Vic has done some work for 4Kids, I believe. I don't know if it was for 4Kids or for TPCI. Because he did actually. I think I can't remember which season it was, depending on the season. But I know Vic did. Let's see. I know he's done some work in New York because let's see. I know he did have a spot on Pokemon, but I don't know if those were. I don't know if those were part of 4Kids or if those are part of TPCI. I also do know that he had a voice credit. He was a father of one of the characters in a anime called Midori Days. So he's had work in New York before. Prior to all the remote stuff that we are seeing nowadays, Vic I would say, because one of the things I used to talk a lot about was in North America here, we have what I call 6 dub capitals, where a lot of the English voice dubs are done. And of course, Dallas with Funimation, got Houston with like now Sentai, which used to be ADV. You have out here in Southern California, LA, with like a number of studios that have been come and gone, now Bang Zoom currently, but also Studiopolis. You have up in Canada, you have New York with like 4Kids, and then there was formerly an NYAV Post, and then formerly Central Park Media, and then you have up in Canada Ocean Studios and Blue Water. So, anyways, but let me get to these other things. Let's see. Is it non-Funimation, defunimation, or unfunimation? I have no idea. Let's see. Uh, let's see. Does Dave Matranga dislike voice? No. I don't think. I don't think. I think Dave Matranga. He's one of the more prolific voice actors out there for Funimation and for Sentai right now. I don't think is Vic done anime. It would appear so, unfortunately, for the time being. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens with the appeal because you know the appeal. We'll have to wait and see what happens with the appeal when that But anyways, let's get back to the article here. Um, and then this, of course, we read this quote in the last article too. TLDR, we won. They lost. They can't get over it. Unquote. Well, it's in appeals. Yeah, you won for the moment. But whether or not that win sticks is still pending. The fact that they're doing this podcast shows that they're scared that this isn't over. Okay, that's evidence right there. They're scared this is not over. They're trying to retake the narrative. They can't get over it. Realm explained on the show's official website. Quote, now it's our turn to tell our side of the story, unquote. Well, you actually did in court, lady. As word of the podcast's then upcoming premiere began to circulate across social media, Dark criticized its announcement, tweeting on February 7th, which was 2 days ago, Monday, quote, nothing says I went through the most traumatic experience of my life more than launching a podcast to capitalize on those clicks. She's kind of, that's kind of a good point there. That's kind of a good point Vera made right there. Nothing says I went through I'll read that again. This I'll read from the tweet side of it. Nothing says I went through the most traumatic experience of my life more than launching a podcast to capitalize on those clicks, which tells you something right there too. I mean, if this experience was just so incredibly horrifying, damaging to them, why are they doing this? That right there should tell you something's up too. Let's see. Quote, while they're making a whole podcast about the situation, at Vic Mignogna ever rarely talks about it and just wants to move forward. She continued, quote, shows a massive difference in character here. Man, she's there. I mean, I've heard of Vera Dark. I know she's more. I think she's more of a Star Wars fan. Like kind of like Mecha Random. She's not Mecha Random. She's a different person, um, but yeah, she makes a couple of strong points there. I mean, you would think that okay, they won, so why continue? It's like you're trying to stir the pot for no reason. The only reason I could, as I said this before. Only reason I could think they're stirring the pot is because they think they're going to lose the appeal. Their attorneys have told them that they're going to lose the appeal. Well, then, okay. Giving the show's debut a listen after it went public on January 8th, which was yesterday, Dark found herself taken aback with its actual contents, noting that the episode felt like, quote, a laugh fest with friends who are talking about their favorite hobby, enjoying their time together. Okay, that might be, yeah, that might be interesting. Well, if their hobby is destroying a man's life and career, then yeah, it probably is what it is. That probably is exactly what it is. Quote, comes across like a massive joke when they're supposed to be talking about an extremely serious situation, unquote, she said. Wow. Those are some damning statements. And if that is true, oh boy. Met with slight pushback from Pushing Up Roses, who informed Dark that, quote, sometimes we deal with trauma by putting it out there, so it can live somewhere other than festering within. I'd encourage that kind of expression versus becoming mired in your own experience. The YouTuber clarified her opinion on and elaborated on why she took specific issue with the episode. Quote, as I said in my video on the topic, in this thread, people do voice their traumatic experiences online, and I think that is perfectly fine. Unquote. She elaborated, but in the first podcast episode, they're laughing like it's a big joke, and it's extremely unprofessional. Unquote. She added, quote, they weren't treating it like they were voicing the awful trauma they went through for others to listen to and raise awareness. People laughing about a traumatic experience comes across terribly. Of course, that is unless you're absolutely psychotic. Unless you're absolutely psychotic, then it might make to somebody who's absolutely psychotic. Probably makes perfect sense. And of course, guys, feel free to comment on if you guys have anything you want to add to the conversations. I'm talking about this as we're going through this. I don't know if some of you know who Vera Dark is. As I explained, I think she's a YouTuber, but her main focus is more, I think, on Star Wars yeah, Star Wars. I think actually Mecha Random is Star Trek, and then Vera Dark maybe Star Wars. So um, several hours later, Dark's initial tweet would be discovered by Rager, who then proceeded to respond to her opinion with unabashed and unwarranted vitriol. Quote, the most traumatic thing in my life is your, quote, hair. Seek hair, I guess. Um, the voice actor insulted Dark. And your Seek overall seeness. Yeah, Chris Rager's a real class act, isn't he? He's a real class act. Dude's a moron here. Not, he's been reading that old book, How to Make Friends and Influence People, hasn't he? Oh boy, dude, you're an idiot. Of course, unsurprisingly to anyone who has watched even one of her videos, Dark refused to roll over, firing back, quote, first of all, your your bleep, I guess. Um, Second, all I did was voice how I didn't think it came off as genuine that they launched a podcast marketed as them talking about their trauma, yet laughed all the way through it. I didn't resort to insulting people's looks or name calling, she further observed. It is true, she didn't. Bizarrely and embarrassingly immature for a grown adult, Rager celebrated, that's weird, I did, so I win. Oh my god. Okay, I gotta check something out here. How old is this guy anyways for all the world? Chris Rager. We gotta look this guy up now because I see just how old this guy is. Of course, they don't have. Let me see if his IMDb page has that information. Okay, Chris Rager was born July 5th, 1973. That would make him 48 years old. This is a 48-year-old man who is acting like a child. This guy should be embarrassed. His family should be embarrassed. This guy is a clown. An absolute, utter, and undeniable clown. Ah, that's good to see you guys are still watching at least. I would figure you guys might have more to say on this, particularly the people who are more into anime. Yeah, so anyways, getting back to the article here. I'm going to read this again. I've got to read this response from this 48-year-old man here. Okay. Bizarrely and embarrassingly immaturely for a grown adult, Rager celebrates. That's weird. I did, so I win. Now remember, this is coming from a 48-year-old man telling this to a young woman. Really? Oh boy. Rager then turned his attention from dark towards random Twitter users, engaging in insult battles with a number of those who responded rudely to his interactions with the YouTuber or met his aggressive attitude with their own. Quote, quite frankly, Vic was thrown under the bus while those bees got off scot-free. To be fair, I did hate Monica before for ruining Bulma, wrote at Robert S. Coulter Ja, to which Rager suggested, have you tried bleeping off? I think you'd like it. Kicking off a lengthy thread. Oh, God. Similar exchanges between the two. You almost get that this. Maybe somebody should put a straitjacket on this guy and a muzzle. Ah. Presented with an edited page from Valve's series of Team Fortress 2 comics, which read, "This bleep is why everyone hates you." The voice actor pushed back, "No one knows who's are." Oh boy. He re- he doesn't have much of a command of the English language either, apparently. Quote, you have no right to talk trash when such a schnoz is planted in the middle of your face. Oh boy. Countered at Cal, or at underscore KFFL underscore following Rager's lead on attacking appearances. Um, yeah. Well, it's almost like I'm confident with my features, and you have an anime picture. So, so he said in response. What do you make of Rager's response to Dark's? I think the dude's an idiot. I think the dude needs to be straitjacketed and sent to an asylum. Anyways, where are we at? We're at an hour and 40 minutes. So actually, we got through this quite a bit then. Wow, there's quite a bit going on in this situation now. I'm gonna All right, so we can unshare that because we're done with the main articles. So I'm glad everybody showed up tonight. I'm glad we had a good crowd tonight. This was quite a those last two particular articles were really quite interesting. Yeah. I am kind of wondering if Nick will be covering this tonight at all. If he'll say anything about it, I may even spent the $20 to ask him about it. Oh, super chat, Nick Ricada. So, let's see now. What else shall we? All right, guys. Well, we're at hour 41. I got through all the main articles, so I think it'd be a good time to start winding things down a bit. Let's see. I do thank everybody for being here tonight, and I do thank everybody for the likes and shares. I hope everybody enjoyed the content. Don't forget this Friday, of course, we'll be doing our historical comic retrospect, in which we'll be finishing up our coverage of September of 1938, in which we'll be we will of course be looking at Tip Top Comics Volume 1, Number 30 from United Feature Syndicate. Hopefully, Bad Goat will be with me. Now, as I said, as we're going to start winding down here, everybody ready for this day in each history? Now, as such, in this day in each history, you actually have a couple of birthdays passing and a then a comic. So, so without any further ado, today being Wednesday, February 9th, 2022, let's take a look back at this day in each history. History! And the first off, I'd like to wish a couple of people a happy birthday. Happy 50th birthday to Luchador El Hijo del Solitario, who is the son of the late El Solitario. That's him right there. Him right there. Happy 50th birthday to El Solitario, who is still an active luchador. Also, I'd like to also wish a happy 50th birthday to Crispin Freeman. Crispin Freeman, who also turns 50 today. I'd like to wish him a happy birthday. For those of you who may not know who Crispin Freeman is, he's of course a voice actor, done a lot of dub work. Probably among his more well known works include being Itachi. Among his more well known credits include Itachi Uchiha from Naruto, Holland Taylor from Eureka 7. Let's see, Zeldis Greywords from Slayers. Let's see, kind of thing. Kion from Melancholia Haruhi Suzumiya. So happy 50th birthday to Crispin Freeman, as well as El Hijo del Solitario, the son of Solitar. Also, we have a passing to mention. On this date 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, rather, on this date 30 years ago today, on this date 30 years ago today, American animator, director, and producer John Kinney passed away at the age of 82. He worked primarily for Walt Disney Productions. So on this date 30 years ago today, American animator, director, and producer John Kinney passed away at the age of 82. And finally, last but not least, on this day 11 years ago, Day 11 years ago. The 190th issue of Betty went on sale on this date from Archie Comics on this date back in 2011. For $2.99, it had 32 pages. So with that, guys, I thank everybody for being here. I had a pretty good night tonight. I hope I'll see everybody back here tomorrow. Until then, bye.